Yo, what up, Street Talks? It's Eric Kim. Alright, so some turbo thoughts coming to you about nihilism. So, what is nihilism? Nihilism is the philosophy. Nihil means nothing, ism is ness. So, nihilism is the philosophy of nothingness, is that there's no ultimate meaning in the universe, and therefore life is not worth living, and therefore we're all just dying a slow death until, and we're trying to live a life in which we have the minimum amount of pain and suffering until we die, hopefully a painless death. Now, to me, this is kind of a sucker way to think and live. I think, well, okay, let me kind of flesh out these thoughts. So the big issue with nihilism is a lot of people end up becoming pacified by this. Is that like, oh, there's no point to nothing anyway, so I'm not gonna do none, and I'm just gonna like play video games and just smoke a bunch of weed and stuff like that, and you know, jerk off to a bunch of porn. But the issue with this kind of mentality is, I mean, just for myself personally, right, is that if you think about life this way, you're just very unhappy, and like, who wants to be unhappy and who wants to be depressed and anxious and, you know, whatever. And so like, I'm just speaking to you like I'm speaking to myself and as an individual, where, so certainly the base level is this: we want to go through our days with the maximum amount of physical vigor, the maximum amount of physical happiness and whatever. And how does one do this? Maximal physical activity, maximal time in the outdoors, maximal time exercise, maximal time fasting through the day and stuff like that. And I really do think that in life, you want to think about philosophy. Like I said this before, like philosophy is king, is that philosophy goes to the root of almost anything and everything that we human beings do and think about and stuff like that. So if you follow intentionally or unintentionally the philosophy of nihilism, I think you're gonna generally tend to live a pretty miserable life. But now, this is the upshot from our friend Nietzsche, is basically the gist that, yeah, the nihilism does exist, but there could be an optimistic, positive form of nihilism in which you kind of look at the world and you think to yourself, wow, there's no ultimate purpose in the world, and there's no ultimate purpose to my life. But regardless of this lack of meaning, life is still so beautiful. I'm so glad that I'm alive, and I'm just gonna make the best use of it alive when I can. So that's essentially my philosophy, is that I almost consider myself kind of like a positive nihilist or a optimistic nihilist, or I don't know, something, in the sense that like, yeah, like there's no purpose of existence, right? Like you're thrust into this world without your permission, and you're alive. If you're watching this video, you're alive. And so the question is, what do you want out of your life? And that's the $1 trillion question that nobody ever asks. Is that like, oh, people are like, oh, I feel this way and that way. I'm like, okay, I get it, right? But like, what do you want out of your life? Like, what do you want? Like, you're alive with existence. What do you want from existence? Like, from all this, right? And obviously I don't have the answer for you, but let me tell you at least what's my personal thing. So what do I want from existence? So first and foremost, I treat myself like a big kid. So I want to play as much as I can. I want to be maximally joyful, maximally playful. And I don't know, I like to play. So playing is very important to me. And not only that, but I love to create. So I'm an artist at heart. And what does a child do as an artist? An artist likes to create, draw, paint, and do a lot of other stuff. And also, like, a child loves to explore the world. A child doesn't like to stay indoors all day. This is like the worst thing to a kid. A kid likes to go out and play in the wilderness or outside, go on adventures and stuff like that. So even when I was thinking about when I was like 11, 10, 12 years old, I'm like living in New York with my buddies in Queens and Bayside, Queens, and my homeboys would go on adventures, would play sports, would play video games, and we were extremely social, extremely active. And at the age of 12, I was like a freaking ultimate like free range kid. You know, mom and dad Like my mom was always at work, and for a while my dad was at work for a little bit too, so no one's at the house, no child supervision. So I was just like, I could just do wherever I want, and it's cool too, because when you're 12, you kind of do have some sort of autonomy over yourself in your life. And so yeah, life was like the best ever. And you know, I think I was actually the most free-spirited when I was around like 12 years old. So now I'm trying to think about decades. I'm 32 years old right now. I look back at my 22-year-old self, my 12-year-old self. So this is my new thing. By the time I turn age 42, yeah, that's a decade from now, I want to have the mentality of a 12-year-old. So let's play along and see how fun life could get.